So let's start. I think we'll just wait. Mark Stone is another faculty from the University of New Mexico. He's a professor in engineering. So it'll be good for all of us to talk to him too. And Jinjing Wang, she's an economist. Today, she's on the hiring committee in the geography department, I believe. So she won't be able to make it, but she will watch the recorded video. So I've asked Neeraj here to record it, and we'll, with your permission, we'll have that on the website of HPRC somewhere so that people can watch it. So that, it'll be good to be familiar with what's going on with HUC, Himalayan University Consortium. Reason being that one, that we have had at least 10 years of connection, lots of visits back and forth, UNM versus ICIMOD, as I wrote in my little background email. So that led to the visit by our provost to Nepal, and we had a big event at ICIMOD. MOU was signed, and the idea of HUC was very attractive. And then some of the people also used to come to Madison to attend our conference. But I think taking it to next level, expanding the collaboration within the this Himalayan Consortium idea that Nepal Center has been working on for the last 15 years would be wonderful. So I think I really appreciate Shachi ji for your offer to kind of a reconnect. And so I thought it would also be wonderful to invite several of the people who are in a way involved in lots of activities of the Himalayan Himalayan Policy Research Consortium, publication-wise, conference-wise. We also have some workshop, student seminars we can kind of talk about down the road. So a lot of these things should be of interest to HUC. So that was a sort of a background. So with that, let's just go around very quickly, state your name and affiliation. So I'm going to go with what I see here on my thing. So I am Alok Bahara, professor here in the current department, and myself and several other colleagues across North America, including Dr. Bhattarai here, we all started this idea of the Nepal Center to harness the intellectual capital of those living in academic field in North America. And so that was the idea. And because much of the work in North America has been in the humanities side, so nothing in economics and policy, because that time, not many people were in economics or social sciences. Most of them were in engineer or technical side. So I thought, and we thought that having some sort of a social science platform would be of very value in terms of developing interaction between those who live in North America and back home in the Himalayan region. So with that, let me go, Neeraj, can you go ahead and kind of a name and affiliation, and we'll go around.
Hello, everyone. My name is Neeraj Khatiwara. I am originally from Nepal, but I am currently a PhD candidate in economics at the University of New Mexico, working under the supervision of Dr. Alok Bahara. And for those of you not aware, Dr. Trong was one of my interviewers at ICIMOD. So when I applied for the fellowship under Atmosphere, Dr. Trong was one of my interviewers. And I met a couple of times at ICIMOD. It's good to see you again, Dr. Trong.
Great. So next on my line is Samratkumar.
Hello, everyone. Nice to meet everyone. So my name is Samratkumar, and I am currently assistant professor of economics at St. John's University in Minnesota, in US. And I am also a member of HPRC, Himalayan Policy Research Conference. And I was a student at the University of New Mexico working with Dr. Bahara, with Neeraj, right? So yeah, so that's it.
So Dhanesh Sirji.
Hi everyone, my name is Dhanesh Paneru. I'm also originally from Nepal. Currently, I am at University of New Mexico as a PhD student. I'm working with Dr. Bahara on my dissertation, and my research focus is on environmental and development economics. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
And Professor Bhattarai, he's also on the advisory of the consortium. So please.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Keshav Bhattarai, geography professor at the University of Central Missouri. I have been with the HPRC from its beginning, and I found Professor Bahara living in North America and focusing many of his activities to send an academic and brilliant ideas to Nepal and for the promotion of Nepali educational institutions, and also to help Nepali students. And I was very much attracted by his activities, and so I have joined it. And I would like to continue with these organizations as long as I could. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your kind word, Dr. Bhattarai. None of them is true, by the way. Sorry. Anyway, I'm just so Professor Adhikari.
Greetings, everyone. I'm Prakash Adhikari, Professor of Political Science at Central Michigan University. And by the way, we got around 3 inches of snow yesterday. I'm also originally from Nepal. I started at University of New Mexico in 2004, and that's how I got into Dr. Bahara's initiative with the Nepal Study Center. I actually worked as a GA in 2005 and 6, 7, 8. Around that time, I think I was part of the group of students who were working with Dr. Bahara in welcoming Professor Sharma at the time, who was the Vice Chancellor of Kathmandu University and so forth. So this has been, I would say, if I were to describe it, one of the most academically motivating activities that I'm involved in. I am thoroughly enjoying it, being part of the HPRC community. Nice to meet you all.
And by the way, Professor Adhikari heads the publication side of the consortium or Nepal Center's activities. And that may be something we can talk about, is where different scholars from all over the world can upload their working papers on the digital repository. So he is the editor of that with other 2 faculty members who are not here today. So in any case, so Shachi ji, so I hand it over to you and Mr. Pandey.
Thank you so much, Professor Bahara. Namaste, everyone.
Namaste,
I'm
namaste.
perhaps the only non-Nepali background in the group, but nonetheless, I feel very much local thanks to my Nepali name, Shachi. By now, I've already been in the country for 6 years. I started to work for ICIMOD in 2016, about a year after the earthquake, actually. And I went straight to work for the HUC as the secretariat lead at the time. And Neeraj ji, it's wonderful to see you again in this forum. I'm actually very impressed with the dedication and effort of Professor Bahara and colleagues from University of Mexico, because again, not only the actual person, but actually when you see the impact is when it is heard and felt here in Nepal. So every time I met with colleagues like Dr. Mani Nepal, of course, my very close colleagues in the same regional program. Of course, when I mentioned that I'm reaching out to HPRC and to Professor Bahara for this particular workshop coming up led by Dr. Chandra, then of course, it is feeling very much like we are already in the connection, in the network already. So again, when you are building a consortium or a network, when you actually found the impact of it beyond the actual person who found it and who ran it, then you can test the impact out there for a decade of work. So thank you all again for this continuity of dedication for the capacity strengthen for the scholarship in Nepal. I leave it at that for now and let my colleague, Dr. Chandra, to introduce himself.
Okay, thank you, Shachi. Namaste to all. I'm Chandra Lal Pandey. I'm with Kathmandu University School of Arts. I lead community development program of School of Arts. Well, my area of expertise is also political science and public policy. I work in the areas of public policy, environment, and development. And I did my PhD and postdoctorate from New Zealand. I spent a long time in New Zealand and decided to come back to Nepal and work in Kathmandu University. I think that's enough from my side for now. And I'm really, it's really a great pleasure to meet all of you, staying abroad, and then you are still concerned with Nepal, and you really want to work on behalf of Nepal, and particularly Kesab Bhatrai, Professor Kesab Bhatrai and Ambika Adhikari. I think he knows Ambika Adhikari also very well. I have worked with Ambika Adhikari also, and I have read their book also. So it's a pleasure to meet Kesab Bhatrai sir also here. Thank you. That's all for now.
Thank you.
So I think we have covered everybody, and just for your information, several of the HPRC's members are traveling right now. And some of them are heading out to UNM for PhD graduation convocation. And there's a good group of people from countries other than Nepal, actually. So Saqib Mahmood, Dr. Saqib Mahmood, University of Wisconsin's superior. He is not here. He was a little busy. Maybe he'll join. So he's from Bangladesh. So we've been in connection with Dr. HUC, you all know from ICIMOD. And he was one of the person who was the person who was engaged in our graduate research program last summer. And then Mandy Liu, she handled a lot of website and all that sort of thing, and she's from China. We have Somajit, Disha, they're from India, and Disha is also traveling. So what I'm saying is it is a truly Himalayan nation organization. So not just Nepal, it's beyond. Actually, we also have some American scholars engaged in, like Soban, who is a very active participant and one of the organizers. So it is a very, so that gives me great pleasure to see this expanding beyond Nepal. So, and we also have a scholar affiliated in Nepal Center. He's from Pakistan. So it's like a lot of different nationality, young scholars, right? Many of them young and holding different faculty research position all across the US. So I think it gives me a big confidence that this initiative that we might think about developing between HPRC and HUC, or Nepal Center UNM and its activities, and the Himalayan University Consortium, we'll see a better daylight as we start thinking about how to nurture that relationship and maybe be in touch regularly and update each other of our activities, participate in each other's activities, because I think we have a very similar goal. And then a lot of our young scholars are also in political science, environmental, public economics, geography, GIS, you name it. So it's a very multi disciplinary group we have. So with that, Shachi ji, why didn't you, I know that I already wrote the background about the MOU that UNM had done with ICIMOD about the Himalayan University Consortium. And I also saw your email about how to charter that. So we can discuss that some other time. But for now, can you go ahead and give us a kind of a update? What are the, what kinds of things you're doing? And then what is it that you see in it for us to play a role? Or how do we develop some sort of collaborative activities?
Thank you so much, Professor Bahara. Can I please share my screen? I can do without, but it's good also to see a little bit of some infographic and some images, just to convey the message that HUC has grown, in fact, over the past decade into something quite a thriving community of fellows. I would want to emphasize the change maker. In fact, Dr. Chandra is one of the grantees and fellows and becoming a co-lead now over the past couple of years after he and other colleagues at the Tata Institute of Social Studies in Mumbai jointly proceed collaborative research. So this is one example of the kind of collaborative activity we are promoting. So if you can give me screen sharing, right, then I would like to show a little bit of just to.
I think you should be able to share screen.
Now? Okay, so let me do share. Okay, yes, perfect. Yes, this is one, share. Are you seeing the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay, that's wonderful. Okay. So this is a bit of a formal presentation, but I make it shorter than that because this is in fact the pitch to sell the membership. By selling, I mean, you know, trying to convince non-member to come to the consortium. But we don't have to do that here because you are already an associate member as UNM and especially the Nepal Institute Center. But nonetheless, I think it's good to also give this overview where we are at the very moment. So if you look at the HUC in a nutshell, the consortium in a nutshell in terms of some statistics here, which is in fact about 2 years ago before COVID, we are now actually reach the critical mass of 90 university member. So when I joined, Niraji, if I think we met you about 2-3 years back, but when I joined, we started only with 33 universities member in 2016. So after 6 years, almost 6 years now, we triple the number of members. But not only the numbers, but the quality of membership. I would like to emphasize the part of the quality interaction. Because if you think from university perspective, of course, you know, why consortium? You can sign MOU with any bilateral MOU with any university, either in the north or in the west. Because Nepal-based university or university in the HKH, Hindu Kush Himalayan countries, probably tend to look west and look north more than look sideways in terms of, you know, either within the country or neighboring country. Because they find the aspirations from elsewhere, which is a good thing. But nonetheless, a lot of issues, problems, and solutions has to be transboundary and has to be shared among the scholarship within the region. So the idea of HUC is exactly just that. You know, instead of promoting the kind of connection north-south, we want to promote also South-South collaboration and focus on the regional solutions and transboundary issues. So the values that here that bind us together, and I absolutely agree with Professor Bahara that we share a lot in common, not just the country focus, but the region focus. But I think we can list it out here. That is the mountain or upstream, downstream kind of linkages. environmental issues, climate change, governance. Of course, colleagues here, many of you are in the economics, environmental economics, and political science. And I absolutely agree with you, colleagues, that in fact, there are clusters of scholarship in Cornell, for example, Yale, and Colorado, working on Nepal as a country, but also as a region. But it's very much disciplinary based, and up until very recently. And there has not been an effort to reach out to build interdisciplinarity. And nowadays, of course, we moved into transdisciplinarity in terms of, stakeholder engagement, co-design and co-production of knowledge for the solutions that works for the local community. So I think it is a leap of faith in terms of, reaching out beyond your comfort zone in terms of disciplinary boundary, not just, physical boundary. So transdisciplinarity is another aspiration that we'd like to introduce into our community. Now, by diversity, we mean not only cultural, linguistic, and religious diversity, but also, of course, biodiversity, which is in fact the assets of this region. And of course, the fragility. Bio hotspots are here in the entire region. So this is something that the strength that we recognize. And the strength, by that I mean the access to the field as well, because not necessary that everyone have to contribute in cash or financial resources. If you have access to the field or to the data, let's say China, Tibetan, for example, area of China, it is an asset for outside world in terms of accessibility to conduct field research there. And in the same for Bhutan and other community. So we do really emphasis on the idea of contribution, not necessarily financially, but also in kind contribution as well. Now the last part of the core values is share leadership, and Dr. Chandra is in fact know this very well because he's leading a couple of activities in HUC, taking the leading role together with colleagues again from India. And this is something that we can see that the consortium now is led by members. HUC secretariat is quite limited in terms of resource. Yeah, I'm the only, and we have Achala Sharma. The two of us are full-time staff of ICIMOD, salaried by ICIMOD. And we are managing, coordinating the consortium of 90 members. So we are on string budget and quite limited in terms of HR. But nonetheless, thanks to co-leads like Dr. Chandra, then the activities are quite active, and I will go into the activities right now. So what we do is to really work at the two levels of intervention. One is at the leadership vice chancellor level, institutional level. And by the way, just to share with you colleagues that in next week on Wednesday and Thursday, there will be a country chapter meeting of Nepal hosted by Kathmandu University. 6 vice chancellors, and of course you probably know that the number of universities in Nepal now has increased to 12. So 6 major universities, Tribhuvan University, Kathmandu University, Pokhara University, Agriculture Forestry University, Nepal Open University, and Far Western Sudupachim University. So those are 6 members in the country. So vice chancellors of these 6 members, universities will gather in duly held to discuss the country chapter and the future of it in terms of sustainability. And not only that, they will bring along 2 deans. And this is a requirement. One dean has to be in sciences and the other dean has to be in social sciences. and at least one has to be a woman. So this is what HUC Secretariat does. We just, coordinate and more or less set the scene for the conversation to happen. And thanks to Dr. Chandra, he will organize and carry out this workshop on communicating science for policy making a day before the country chapter, catering to these 15 deans. So we have already 15 deans confirmed their participation, registrars and controllers as well. So at this high level, relatively high level. So this is the first level of intervention. Now, the second level of intervention that we feel very relevant, and this is actually the driving force and the energy, the engine of HUC, is fellows. Early career, mid-career researchers, recent PhD graduates or lecturers, and we focus on strengthening their capacity from glaciology to natural resource management, modeling, governance, almost anything that there has been an offer. So HUC modality is like this. We cannot do it alone because we can't. We don't have the resources, we don't have the expertise. But when there are at least one or two members, and by that I mean institutional members or scholars, to come forward and offer any expertise or skills to provide for capacity strengthening, HUC match the resources and pool the resources together to conduct this kind of training for fellows. And by now, I'm very happy to share with you that we have about 200 fellows by now, completed various training courses, as I said, again, from modeling to statistics, our language, for example. Just last year, this year in 2021, we have workshops on statistics and R, which are a bit different. Statistics is different from the language. But we offer that workshop thanks to University of Reading in the UK. A professor from associate members just come and said, I can do the course free for you. Can you just organize a course? So what we did is just exactly that. We put together a course, we recruit, we select, we run the entire course, and the expertise is offered by Reading. So this is one example, a very recent example on the kind of resource pooling and members-led activity. Now, we don't have to explain to you about the membership. It's still free. And in fact, there are discussions, and maybe next week, Dr. Chandra will hear more about whether we should start charging fee already. Because until now, in 18 years of existence, it was established in 2007. And in fact, Professor Bahara, I looked at the document and the signature, if I believe, it must be in 2008 or 9, around that time. So dated back, as you said, more than a decade. So now we are graduating into 15 years of age. And above, and it is time to start thinking of sustainability of the consortium. And there are some suggestions. By the time we reach 100 institutional member, we should register with UNESCO as an entity, because until now we have not registered to governments of Nepal or anywhere in terms of license or legal status. But then there are another school of thought that, in fact, we don't need to register. There are lots of consortia out there, and it comes and it goes. It will wax and wane. Basically, eventually it will turn itself into something else altogether. So we don't really have to worry too much about licensing it or registering it with any body, international body, as long as the spirit of it and let's say the fellows, the network keep being very active just the way you are for HPRC. These are the thematic working groups, which I'd like to share, because this is actually the key feature of HUC. And by thematic working groups, we mean the clusters of scholars, and we focus on the scholars level on these topics, 8 topics that are active. And there are upcoming as population and health, for example, in the pipeline. But we only put out here those who have identified co-leads already, and there has to be always co-leads. Because again, nobody can run this alone, because this is on the side of your teaching responsibilities and research projects that you are running, and very much on a pro bono basis. You know, the scholars who join these groups do not receive any remuneration in terms of income or consultancy assignment at all. What they do is to contribute their time to the activity. What HUC does and is to pool the resource to cover the research part, if it is a research, training, if it is a training, any collaborative activities such as meeting, proposal writing, then we cover the actual costs, but no staff time, because this is we consider as a contribution from scholars. So if you look at this, these are the groups that are active. And by active, I mean, again, co-leads identified, activities are going on, publication have been published, proposal have been submitted, collaboration such as trainings are going on. So those are active. I will end pretty soon. This is the modality I already described. It has to be led by members, and it has to be based on resource pooling, because again, the budget of HUC used to be at the maximum time that I know it is about $2 million per year. But that's our heyday, which about 4 years ago, thanks to the grant of South Asia Water Initiative, SAVI of the World Bank. That's a multi-trust fund administered by the World Bank. That was the high time of the budget, and the SDC, the Swiss SDC budget, and a little bit of support from TROSA, which is the Oxfam grant. But nonetheless, those days have really passed, because the modality now has to be resource pooling, and we are at the budget of about 1/10 of what used to we have. So literally in 2022, we have about $200,000 for the number of fellows, and for the number of the active thematic working groups that triple. So you see that more members, more active fellows, more active thematic working groups, and the budget degrees is exactly now we have 1/10 of what we used to have. So this is a dilemma in terms of the momentum we receive, we gain, and the budget that we are facing. But to my pleasant surprise, and maybe to your surprise as well, the activeness, the proactiveness is actually even ever more. Members come to us now with resources. So China, for example, they are coming up very big in terms of resources. But then China and India, they have a very particular condition that, the fund has to be spent in their country. Even if you bring yourself to their countries, which is very interesting way to look at it. But nonetheless, just to share with you that members start coming in with the cash resources from Western Sydney universities, from NTNU Norway, from Bristol University, from Reading. So those associate members are coming with as little as 10,000, as big as a couple of hundred. And full members from within the region also come with with the resource sharing as well. India, China already put in a lot of cash. And I see that Nepal, for example, Kathmandu University is hosting this meeting, and Pokhara University used to host the previous meeting, all on their own contribution, hospitality. So you see the spirit of contribution instead of asking or expecting money from ICIMOD, which is a very different mindset. I think I'll end it here by saying that we start going global. Our thematic working group start making quite a visibility outside of the region. And if you look at our website, then you see quite a traction. The past 2-3 years during the pandemic restriction, all of our seminar and event are quite international in terms of the participation as well as the speakers coming from virtually every continents, including Latin America, the Andes, Arctic, because it's so relevant in terms of similarities of issues and solutions. So let me wrap it up and end it here. But again, I see a lot of commonalities and synergy between the two consortia. So over to you, back to you, Professor Bahara.
Thank you very much. That's very exciting. I think it has definitely come a long way since our team, UNM team, visited ICIMOD back in 2009, I believe, or around that time. Before I don't have any PowerPoint, but I'll share some of the things to see where we can find some common ground. Before I do that, I would like to invite Dr. Shachi Mahmood to state your name and your affiliation, please.
Hi, unfortunately I couldn't come earlier because I had another meeting. So as Dr. Bahara was mentioning, I'm Saqib, Dr. Saqib Mahmood. You can call me Saqib. I'm affiliated with University of Wisconsin Superior in the Sustainable Management Program. I'm also the academic director of their Sustainable Management Program over there. And I actually got acquainted with, it is a long time, with Dr. Bahara through Himalayan Policy Research Conference, and got interested what Nepal Studies Center does, not only through the conference, but other activities. And it's been a while now, like it's all started in the year 2012 or 2013, something like that. But anyway, I heard about this partnership between HUC and Nepal Studies Center, and thank you, Ms. Shachi Trong. It's a nice presentation, nice overview of what you folks are doing. It's wonderful, and I actually want to share, like here I can see a couple of scholars through Sandy ICIMOD partnership got funding, grant funding to pursue their research, and in fact I also one of the Sandy grantee very beginning. I don't know, at that time it was not maybe not affiliated with ICIMOD, but now it is, right? If I'm correct. But whatever you showed is wonderful initiatives you folks have taken. I can see lots of opportunities, but of course we want to make sure that we can work on those areas where we can gain, I would say from all our perspective, like a win-win situation for all. So let's see, like which areas we can focus. You mentioned about the word synergy, collaboration, partnership. So communality, right? So let's identify those common grounds, and I can see definitely we can work from there. Personally, I really like that thematic working groups, but of course, I want to learn more. So Professor Bahara, over to you. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Saqib. Definitely, that your thematic working areas, like whether disaster or ag, energy, climate risk, tourism, sort of a trans-Himalayan environmental humanities or something I saw very quickly. So I think the Nepal Center and many of its scholars from affiliated scholars from different parts of South Asia, like whether from Bangladesh, Nepal, India, China, Pakistan have worked on a number of topics like that. And they have gotten PhD, moved on. And in fact, some of the scholars who are right here have done like Samrat and Neeraj and even Prakash ji early on worked on the Maoist issues, conflict. So many of the scholars that are affiliated with Nepal have done, not only from Nepal, but also from other countries, have done a lot of work in that area, in the area that you have spelled out. So I think there's a lot of, there'll be a lot of research interest. And just to give you an idea, over the last 6-7 years, Nepal Studies Center and its doctoral scholars have done about 10 field research in Nepal. Whether that is, actual field research, right? Going through the IRBs, I mean, the whole shebang, and finding the little bit money here and there, traveling to Nepal and doing a couple of research projects with in collaboration KU in Bahunipati before the earthquake, after the earthquake. Even we may have been the first one to implement instruments mechanism against climate shock. So I think that dissertation got written Wen Mei, she's from China, did that work. That was followed by Vishan and a Nepali. We went there and to see how the all the social capital and resiliency can be studied before and after the earthquake. So that study was done. Actually, in fact, Mark Stone, who is not here, and I, after the earthquake, we got together about 10, 15 engineering students and went to Nepal to build a women's community center in Bahunipati. We raised the money here. I was there on the ground for a month, right? As an economist, but then on the ground working on this engineering project. And so, and then we also did that follow-up to finish it up the following year. So I think the interest is very interdisciplinary. We care about people. We care about this resiliency issues. I mean, we have a lot of interest like that. So then there were two projects we did in Bagmati River because it's very dirty, public health hazard. So one was done in waste management. The other one was the river cleanup idea, right? Using the method of choice experiment, contingency evaluation, and naming. It's a pretty good set of skills that our students learned and implemented, got PhDs. And then we started doing things in Western Nepal, like in Rupandehi, because some of us wrote a small grant, like with Mark Stone and climate scientist Joe Galevsky. We wrote an NSF grant for a travel fund. So we traveled from Mustang all the way down to Bhairawa. And then there's a nonprofit college. They gave us a room and all the facility to set up a Lumini Center for Sustainability Research Center. So we invited several vice chancellors from Western Nepal, a lot of scholars from Kathmandu to see if we could diversify intellectual concentration away from Kathmandu, right? Everything happens in Kathmandu, right? ICIMOD is in Kathmandu, KU is in Kathmandu, and you name it, all the good NGOs and research center Kathmandu. So our idea was to, what about all the scholars and students outside Kathmandu? What can we do for them? So that was the idea behind this NSF grant to set up something called Lumini Center for Sustainability. So when we started, and we started using that setup to invite scholars to go there and do some women's training, health training. Even Norwegian University came and did a few days of climate training for the community and scholars. We also did, let's say, a financial literacy program in collaboration with Heritage Business School in Calcutta for the women, right? Financial literacy program for the women. So the point is that Lumini Center that we got also facilitated a lot of other work that Neeraj and Rahman is not here, and everyone has been doing in that part of the world, like HPV vaccination, sanitation, gender issues, and the other thing is air pollution, waste management, you name it. So altogether, Nepal Center and Scholar have done 10 field research in Nepal. So the point I'm trying to make it is that that's the research part of it. Then we also do quite a bit of knowledge creation and dissemination, right? So that's the idea of our consortium. So in passing, I should also mention that the Nepal Center at UNM also became a nice magnet for recruitment of students from that part of the world, whether from Bangladesh, Nepal, India, and so on. They come there, they find Nepal Center activities and the connection in that part of the world very attractive because they're interested in solving the issues plaguing the Himalayan region, right? Whether we're talking about the gender empowerment or conflict. So I think there's a lot of hunger for doing research to solve issues in that part of the world. So, the consortium, on the other hand, as I said, that's the research part, the recruitment part, but then the consortium itself does a lot of this knowledge creation and dissemination issues, right? So that's where we started about 15 years ago. So we just concluded 16th Himalayan Policy Research Conference just a couple of weeks ago. And I think the one thing that I like to sort of offer or come up or at least talk about is the low-hanging fruit, right? So we have all these workshops. And for example, you talk, I like the idea of training for students or scholar, right? For example, modeling, or we are also thinking about doing something along the line of impact evaluation. Actually, one of our members brought that idea at a meeting to see, can we do impact evaluation, not only for the students or the faculty, but also for the policymakers. And we have people in our network who are pretty good with lots of skills. So I think that could be one area. The other is we also would like to see if your university consortium would be interested to join and do a graduate seminar in the summer, right? So that could be another, what I call low-hanging fruit. Let me quickly share this website, and then I see Dr. Stone is here, so I'll get back to you, Dr. Stone. Give me a minute. So give me a second here. So can you see the screen? Okay, so you can see this website, which is the consortium. It used to be called Himalayan Policy Research Conference. So last year we converted that into consortium because we do a lot more than just a conference. So the idea that, and then as I said, we do conference every December 4th and 5th, and then 2 days. And then we also do these workshops. We call it Feed the Mind. So this workshop, we invite, kind of a well-known scholars to talk about some of the issues that might be of importance to scholars, young scholars, like how to build research program, or as a female, how to survive in academia and thrive and be successful. So that's coming up in April 8th. So, and the February 18th is this chair and endowed chair of NYU in global health will be giving a talk as a QA February 18th. So, and then we just had one last month on the like how to survive and be successful in academia, like tenure promotions and how to, succeed. So we had that. So we're thinking about doing these kinds of workshops called Feed the Mind workshops regularly. So that could be of interest to your HUC scholars, right? And then we also have the publication. So publication is where Himalayan Research Paper Archive, where your scholars and students can upload paper on it. So there is a very simple 4 steps method: create an account, log in, fill information, upload the file. So it is this is the University of New Mexico's digital repository. So if you put your working paper there, and that's what Dr. Adhikari, Prakash Adhikari, and Dr. Wang and Dr. Vinny stressed, they are the editorial board, and they can help if somebody is having a trouble uploading. So this could be one outlet that your scholar can use. So to summarize, one is we can talk about the research opportunity collaboration, but on the other sort of a engagement side, we can also talk about participating in conferences and participating in workshops, participating in mentoring and graduate research panel in the summer, and also doing this publication. So we have all of these kinds of activities under the consortium that might be of interest to your colleague or the consortium. So I think that's kind of a brief idea behind what could be there in terms of either long-term prospect, as well as maybe some quick thing that you can see as a beneficial asset for your colleagues. So let me stop there and bring forward Dr. Stone, who just joined. And Dr. Stone and I've been partners in crime a couple of times, traveling to Nepal. Actually, that Lumini Center idea and funded by the National Science Foundation has a seed money. Mark Stone was co-PI in it, myself and Gillespie, Professor Gillespie. So, and over time, Mark and I've been kind of we also went to Nepal after the earthquake, and we co-mentored an engineer group to build that Women's Community Center. And the other thing is, Mark and I were also interested in developing some sort of a research project idea along the Gandaki corridor, from Tibet down to the Ganges plain. So how to look at the climatic changes and how that affects the community in a multidimensional way, not just the hydro and engineering the water, that's Dr. Stone's interest, expertise, but he's also interested in a lot of other socioeconomic issues, including culture. And he heads a Resilient Institute at UNM. And the other thing that I thought was very interesting to talk about, Dr. Stone, is your Latin American Consortium. That sounds very similar to the Himalayan University Consortium. I think he also does a very similar kind of thing you outlined earlier in terms of bringing a scholar together, getting them to talk about the common issues, forging proposal writing, and developing curriculum, all that kind of thing. So with that, I'll hand it over to Dr. Stone.
Thank you a lot, Dr. Bahara. I think you provided a complete background of everything that I do, but I'll expand on it just a touch. As Dr. Bahara indicated, I'm also here at UNM, and I lead up the Resilience Institute, which I also co-founded, and the mission of it is really to engage in these complex interdisciplinary problems through a resilience lens. And we really attempt to take a full systems viewpoint of socio-ecological systems from all backgrounds. So my background is actually in engineering, but we work with partners really across all fields, from health, architecture, business, economics, et cetera. And as Dr. Bahara indicated, our work really aligns with a lot of the challenges and also opportunities in Nepal, and work that we're doing in other parts of the world has really helped us build some of that capacity. So resilience, of course, is an enormous topic and touches on all sectors of humanity, but our work is largely focused on water, food, and energy issues. And when we're talking about water, a big point of emphasis of ours is what we refer to as headwaters and headwater dependent communities. And of course, the Himalayas are the world's most prominent and arguably most important headwater systems. And Nepal is the ultimate example of a headwater dependent community or set of communities. And we have a strong interest and have done a lot of work focused on climate change impacts and other environmental stressors, because as I think everyone on this call recognizes, climate change is one of the important and overarching drivers of change in headwater systems. But there are so many other things that also impact, especially local communities, including things like hydropower development and mining and deforestation, et cetera. So we have developed a consortium of sorts. It's similar to what Dr. Bahara was describing for the Himalayan Research Consortium, but we refer to it as the Headwaters of the Americas, which of course does not include Nepal yet, but extends from Canada down to South America, all the way to the southern tip of the Andes, where we are working with partnerships, both universities and non-university partners, to better understand headwaters and how they are changing, and to learn from each other. And in that case, it's one of the novel aspects that's really been valuable for us is looking at, as you move across latitudes, how headwater systems perform differently, so that we can learn from each other. And here in New Mexico, we're really a fringe headwater community. People, some of you have been here, like Samrat lived here. Some of you have spent some time in New Mexico, but people think of New Mexico, it's in the American Southwest and it's very dry. But as a result, we depend extensively on snowpack and rainfall in high elevations. And because of where we're situated, it's very marginal. Our snowpacks are from year to year, we experience exceptional variability. This year we've had almost zero snow, for example, and that's been the case throughout the climatic, current climatic epoch for thousands of years. But we are absolutely experiencing a drying pattern that is driven by global warming. So how we share those experiences, for example, with people in the global south that are at a similar latitude to us, that are experiencing the exact same patterns, is very valuable. And then sharing experiences with people at other latitudes, so that we can build capacity, is also really important. And one other aspect, and then I'll be quiet. We use resilience as a framework and a lens to understand system processes, and our team really appreciates perspectives of resilience, because resilience embraces variability. It embraces the dynamic nature of complex socio-ecological systems. But we're trying to move kind of the conversation, because resilience still, as it is applied today, tends to focus on concepts of sustainability, and concepts of sustainability really emphasize trying to maintain the current status while also not impacting future generations. But our team really takes the approach that the current status, the status quo, is not sustainable. To continue doing the things the way that we are doing them, and to think that there aren't going to be dramatic negative consequences down the road is naive and short-sighted. So we really embrace the concepts of guided transformation, of collectively and equitably involving wide sectors of the community to envision what we want the future to look like in a way that is equitable and that is sustainable, including both humans and the environment, and then to work towards those pathways, to develop sustainable pathways through what we refer to as guided transformation, accepting that things are going to change, and rather than being the recipients of change, actually taking, having some volition in that change, and trying to implement that at a regional level, because it's we can think about global patterns, and we have to be aware of what's happening at a global level, but really change happens at a regional level. So we're focused on what we refer to as sustainable regional systems that try to take it on at a scale where we can be engaged with leadership and we can influence policy and we can develop a shared vision for the future and work towards that, accepting that it's not going to be what we think anyway. It's always going to be changing, but that we can continue to target, change, adapt, target, change, adapt. So that's kind of what I've been up to lately. And nice to see everybody this morning.
Wonderful, Mark. And, you know, like even the Nepal Center or the HPRC consortium has the sort of global South-South issues as a part of our mission. You know, that's just connecting what happened in South Asia, perhaps with Latin American. We have a common theme, common problem, whether it's poverty or water resource or climate change. We're gonna have to talk to each other and build something common framework. So I think that's true. So what I would like to do probably, we set it up for about an hour and a half. We might wanna do a little bit of QA. So let's just see if Shachi ji and Dr. Pandey have any question about any of the thing that we discussed, whether it's HPRC or the research or the conferences or Dr. Stone's project. So we can kind of do that. And then I'll do the same thing from our side to ask questions of you. So with that, Shachi ji, go for it.
Thank you so much, Professor Bahara, and nice to meet you, Mark. It's a lot to take in from what you presented, but also earlier conversation as well. We were in fact discussing about inclusiveness of the intellectual landscape in Nepal, and both Dr. Chandra and myself smiled because we do understand that the scholarship used to focus very much in the Kathmandu Valley with the two universities, Tribhuvan University and Kathmandu University. And for that is precisely the same reason that we reach out to Pokhara AFU. And then now the latest university that about to join our consortium is Gandaki University. So Professor Bahara, this is also very much similar line of thought that we feel, you know, inclusiveness should start from intellectual community ourselves to reach out to underrepresented locations and communities ourselves as researchers. And I'm so glad to find like-minded friends and colleagues who are based in the US who are doing in a similar line. Because it is extremely pretty hard to get out of the valley, not by the traffic means, but by the thinking. So including Surupachim, Banchim, in fact, Far Western University Vice Chancellor, Professor Alma Joshi, who will be in the country chapter meet next week. So Mark, by the way, just to summarize, I'm sure you will look at the presentation later, but just we have a two level of intervention, one at the Vice Chancellor level, at the leadership institutional level, in terms of enabling conditions or disenabling, but of course, you know, we are looking forward to trying to make the context more enabling. That is at the level of intervention at the leadership level, but we very focused on fellows level, meaning mid-career, early career. And our vision is, in fact, if we think we can build cohorts, several cohorts, not just one, but continuous cohorts of fellows who share similar, let's say, interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary type of understanding and tools and approaches, and leadership, you know, partnership, understanding that, you know, partnership goes beyond transactional relationship of the project-based type of engagement, but actually friendship lasts a lot longer than just project kind of encounter. So we are building this idea of the scholars who going into either academic, stay with university, or going into public sector, private sector, eventually go into the government. They stay with the same leadership or similar leadership aspiration that change can be made by themselves, and just picking up the phone or Viber, WeChat, social media, and the movements can start from individual connected. So that's what we think for the fellows intervention type of level. Now, this is very much a reflection of listening to Professor Bahara talked earlier about the kind of activities, 10 fieldwork that you've done recently, very much community oriented and problems driven, solutions driven type of science and intervention. And again, so interdisciplinary, engineering and governance. But listening to you, Mark, about the guided transformation, I do want to share that we're moving along at least the recognition of futures in plural form and with lowercase f. So in fact, there is a cross-cutting working group on education for mountain futures, sustainable mountain futures. With the recognition that growth or development is not necessarily better. So this is where we are at in terms of sort of the common understanding, at least in this region, within this community of HUC, that we drop the development path, and we're looking actually to the Andes to learn of their philosophy of degrowth. This is what we learn from the Andes, and by the way, latitude do figure in because we actually reaching out to Arctic as well. So we were just talking about the similar consortia before you join, or maybe about the time when you join, that we do have the connection and quite active and productive connection with the Andes. Of course, due to language limitation, very few of scholars based in the HKH speak either Spanish or Portuguese. But then through US, University of Arizona, for example, we have ICIMOD Mountain Chair, Chris Scott, who works on water. And in fact, a similar line of water, energy, food nexus. He gave a series of training earlier last year. And then the Arctic, then I would want to emphasize this latitude and altitude because, the very similarity in terms of the 8 countries in the Arctic, the 2 giants, US and Russia. Very similar if you think of China and India here in the HKH, and such a acute environmental or climate change problems that the populations face, the remoteness, inaccessibility, but then the huge potential of technology again, and questions of distance learning, reindeer, herders, and so a lot similarity. The importance of permafrost and snow, ice, water, headwaters, and all that. So again, I'm hearing you, Mark, in terms of the importance to be connected across consortia, because apparently there are like-minded people out there doing very similar good things, but just not having met yet. So I thank Professor Bahara again for putting us in touch. And I found it's not just low-hanging fruit. I do agree with Professor Bahara, like sharing of information, talks, including HUC fellows into your series of Feed the Mind and speakers, publications, all of that we can almost do right away, instantly, just by connecting the people who are running the website at each of our ends. We can almost synergize instantly. Once we know the platform, then we can almost connect very easily now because of the system of We have also the portal. We have very similar ideas that once you get into the portal, you can search for partners, either individual researchers who can partner with you for proposal writing, but also institutional partners as well. So all of these, I think we are proceeding almost very parallelly, and I can see sort of, instant connection that we can do without cost at all. But I think we can even start rolling in terms of the training that you can offer, like impact assessment or any other skills, modeling, even the idea of what does it really mean by co-design, solution-driven. All of these we've been talking about, but then, it needs to be demonstrated. It needs to be shown how it works in practice. What does it mean, being interdisciplinary? You can't just really put people from different disciplines sit together in the same Zoom. That interdisciplinary wouldn't occur. And then the questions that had not been addressed, even at ICIMOD, is ethic of research, ethic of practice. This is seriously lacking in the region because a lot of community, and of course, Dr. Chandra probably resonate very well with your program, community development program, when ethic is largely missing in the discourse here in this region at all levels, policy, intellectual, not just necessary health, and or if you have to pass the human subject committee in order to get into to do your fieldwork as a PhD scholar. But as a lot more philosophical level of intervention, we talk about policy, but then from which standpoint and policy of what of whom and for whom. So all of these, I think, is a lot to be sort of let's say taking in, but at the same time operationalize together. And see what can be done almost next year. Let's say, we can start with impact assessment training that you and your colleagues could offer. And for the school, Professor Bahara, we've been hosting summer school. And believe it or not, even placement students, international placement students from Western Sydney University, for example, virtually, which is amazing things to even conceptualize that whether it's happened, whether it is useful at all. So what happened is HUC try our best to host placement students, international placement students from Western Sydney universities that should have been going to Kathmandu University to study, and then placed at ICIMOD as the hosting institution in person. 3 days a week, so that they have a feel of being in a place, in an office, doing the kind of business and service to our secretariat. We did that two years in person, and then we switched to virtual. And I wouldn't want to take more time of your time, but then just to tell, to share with you that I wouldn't believe that it worked. Because it's impossible to create smell, music, color of the festivities during this period of time when Dasein Diha is happening. It's almost impossible to convey that kind of message of belonging to a place. But what we did is to do our best. We can virtual meeting, video, we ask them to read and watch documentary, movie, dance, just trying to have a sense of belonging. And imagine, these very young students of third year bachelor degree being in Western Sydney, travel internationally, very limited exposure, almost have not left their country, and finish their program with good mark, but also achievement, that they felt that they've been away from their home and from Zoom, which is amazing for us to think. So on that part, Dr. Bahara, we are innovative enough and highly adaptive when we talk about resilient and accommodating. And we learn as well, how education can be, beyond university world in a conventional form. So let me just leave it as that. I'm sorry for taking so much time, but then again, it's very much exciting moment of, let's say, conversions of minds that I feel the two consortia apparently can co-benefit and mutually in a lot of different ways. So Dr. Chandra, please, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Shachi. I think you've covered most of the things that needs to be discussed, I think. And the ideas which have been said by Professor Bahara and Dr. Mark, I think these are very important, fantastic ideas that can be implemented. For example, like graduate student seminar also, you can think of that, right? That can be useful for, let's say, Nepali universities, particularly, you were talking about Far Western University. I've been to Far Western University a number of times. Actually, I go there to train, about research methodology to the professors there. So they need it actually, right? They need it, and it's very important for them. So we can think about even training professors and then students also. So that can be a useful platform for, resource sharing, or let's say expertise sharing from, let's say, universities with Professor Bahara, Mark, they are working. And at the same time, we always talk about like, guided transformation and stuff like that, and north-south issues. But I think there is plenty of things that can be learned from south to north also now, right? So a lot of things can be learned from south to north also. For example, I myself work with the University of Edge colleagues there, on the basis that our students learn from, let's say, Europe, but at the same time, their students also learn from Nepal and this region. Likewise, every year in Kathmandu University, in my program also, lots of students come from University of Washington, University of California, right? It's not with HUC, but only university, network like. So we can think of those kinds of things also. And our students go to those universities as well, right? But then now we have HUC as a platform, we can find out a way so that they can come to that process that can be very, very useful. And, most of us who are here, we always believe in this, not only disciplinary and interdisciplinary, I believe in transdisciplinary issues, actually, transdisciplinary research, right? So we can think of that as well. So maybe issues of public policy, climate change, sustainability, right? Those things can be discussed. For example, I did my PhD on climate change governance myself. So I work on those areas, right? Mark is engineer. So we have here economics also. So that can be a very good, let's say, expertise, which can be utilized for developing proposals, for funding also, right? We can think of that as well. So sometimes what happens, in our universities, we don't have plenty of resource for hiring research assistants so that they can do ground level work, and then they submit those things to us, and then we look at those issues, right? We don't have resources to do those kinds of things, but you have those resources there, and HUC also does have, I think, those kinds of resources if there. And we can think of those resources, like resource pooling, and develop very good proposals also, and work on those proposals, look for fundings also within HUC and even outside to HUC, right? We can think of those kinds of things. That is another thing that we can do immediately, actually. We don't need to wait for that. We don't have additional cost for that. And, Western Sydney University, yeah, they used to come physically to Kathmandu University in School of Arts. They used to take classes in my program also for 2 years, but because of COVID-19, then they stopped, and online is going on. It's working well. We can think of those kinds of things also. We are also becoming innovative. In Kathmandu University, especially if you talk about Kathmandu University, we have not stopped even single class. We continued, our calendar. We maintained our calendar in Nepal. That's the only university who maintained the calendar. So we are very proud of that also, actually, right? So we can think of, if students are not able to come physically, our students are not able to go physically there, virtually also we can do lots of things, right? That's the, and likewise, I think Sichuan University is also the member of HUC, right, Shachi? So they also, invite our students every year, in fact, I used to send 10 to 15 students in Sichuan University, China. They used to go for this 15-day summer school and then spend time and come back, right? Those kinds of things also we can think of in the future, although it involves, it is associated with cost, right? So you can think about those kinds of things, if those resources are available or not. And in terms of ethic, I also suffer sometimes, like Shachi has rightly pointed out. Recently, I've been involved in one, let's say, policy research, which is, a survey of policymakers' knowledge. Actually, how do Nepali policymakers they get knowledge, right, and how they internalize it, and how they process it, and how they take it out actually as a policy, then, right? And it's related with COVID-19 issue. And as they saw COVID-19, then all of a sudden, I talked to my university, and we have one research committee there in the university also, and they suggested me to go to NHRC. And NHRC is only one institution that looks after all these issues, which is very, very complicated, right? And most of the people, therefore, they don't even bother about these ethical issues in terms of research, in terms of policy, in terms of practice, right? That needs to be, thought deeply. And I think we need to create other kinds of institutions also. We can look into those issues, particularly, universities are autonomous, right? And they can have their own research committee there, right? That is what is not here in Nepal, because we still function in a very much unitary system in terms of, these ethic issues. So we can, do some kind of lobby, some kind of advocacy. That is what I'm doing also currently, right? So we can think of those kinds of things, and HKH-ICIMOD, can play a role on that. And, you as an international scholar also can play a role on that. We are also working on those areas, but that is there, right? So overall, what I think is that there are plenty of areas on which we can work together, right? And let's see how much we can tap those opportunities. And Shachi has rightly pointed out that, we have teaching also responsibility, right? Administrative responsibility, we have projects also going on, and we have that responsibility also. And apart from that, how much we can stretch ourselves and do those things, right? That is the challenge and limitation. But I'm happy, my colleagues are also happy. I think other members, who are there in HUC, they are also happy to work with. And every time we have these kinds of, let's say, workshops, symposium, we have different kinds of, let's say, group. It's Shachi showed, water group, DRR group, right? And I find that almost every member, every person who is there, every scholar who is there, he or she is very much willing to work. So that kind of willingness, that kind of commitment can be seen there. And that can be synergized actually, right? So let's see how we can go. Definitely we need to go far, but maybe slowly and gradually. That's all for now. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we have about 8 minutes left, and I just wanted to share this, Shachi-ji. You talked about like going beyond the conventional teaching mode. So this is something Nepal Research Center did through its sustainable lab idea, where we blended STEM with social sciences. The idea was bringing all the problems from Nepal, analyzing in the classroom student, and then taking to Nepal and implementing it on the ground. So what we did was our UNM students, you remember you said other university would come join Kathmandu University, and then they spent 3 days or 3 months at ICIMOD, that opportunity. So UNM students went to Nepal and installed pollution tracking devices, several of them in Western Nepal. And we track this using this website. So this is done by undergrad student. So this is something we could use as a collaboration with other HUC technical type people. And then this would be a very valuable asset for public policy, where people on the ground, if we can build an app, they can immediately see what the pollution level is right on the ground. So this is something we did, and it is anyway. So that's just to share the idea that yes, we need to go beyond a classroom to bring in actual problem from the ground and come up with the solution-oriented learning experience. So I think this we are on the same page. So with that, before we close out, we want to probably have everybody's sort of a video on so we can take a picture. Somebody's going to do that, Samrat or Neeraj. So that'll be nice. And meanwhile, let's just open the floor. Everybody, please ask any question to Mark or Shachi ji, anything you heard. So let's just go.
Can I be the first one to go, Dr. Bahara, with your
Yes,
permission?
please.
Shachi and Chandraji and everybody, thank you so very much, Mark. Very nice to meet you. With all the information, I just wanted to reiterate what Professor Bahara mentioned earlier, that we have this wonderful opportunity to showcase our research by way of publishing our working paper. So if you want to take an opportunity to just make use of it, and please do so. But if there's any help, anything, I'm committed to, I'm dedicated to, I'm the person dedicated to promoting our publication. So please do share it with your colleagues, whoever you come across, just let them know that we are here to publish those things. We're trying to automate it so that no one has to be a gatekeeper, but we are the gatekeeper right now. So if there are any issues, we'll address them. I do have a really quick point to make on the thematic working groups that you mentioned in your wonderful presentation, Shachi. That was super helpful. Thank you so very much. And I cannot be excited more when I heard Chandraji has a degree in political science, and it's part of our group. One of the things, I had a master's in economics from Tribhuvan University, and I switched over to political science and got my PhD from UNM in political science. I think it would be wonderful, Chandraji, I'm sure you've been working on it, and I'll be more than happy to join you if you've been thinking along the line of, like, post-conflict peace processes, doing things at the ground level that has to do with conflict processes or political violence or governance or any kind of issues that has to do with political science. I just wanted to mention that out before we close the floor. Thank you.
Great, Prakash, we have another 5 minutes. So let's go around.
Yeah, I have a very quick clarification question to Shachi or Chandraji. So like if I want to become a fellow of ICIMOD or HUC, right? So is the process just to become a member, or how does that work? That's my first thing. And I guess I'll just ask another question also. So, and if I want to find collaborators to work in the thematic areas of HUC, right? In those 6 thematic areas, how do I go about finding collaborators? What does the process look like? Yeah.
Very quickly, Samrat, you're very much welcome to register as a user of HUC portal.
Okay.
As soon as you're the user, then individual user, you will be able to post your CV. And of course, you allow us, you tick some boxes and sort of let us share your CV searchable so that you can search and people can search for you in terms of expertise. And then you get connected with potential collaborators at the individual level. In terms of institutional level, it's a little bit of working, which institution will be the lead and all that, but we will assist you. Now, thematic working groups, please do join as individual scholars. There is no limitation whatsoever. And by the way, there are cross-cutting groups as well, because like indigenous local knowledge and technologies, for example, cross-cut from engineering, building technology to energy. So that's why we have cross-cutting as well, because I'm sure you will ask the questions where indigenous local knowledge and technology fit in the thematic working groups. So again, yes, please do join.
Shachi, I think a lot of our members would be very much interested in that. So if you could send me like a simple paragraph of the process, like log on here, here's the link, and then this is what you are expected to find, or whatever you just said. Maybe either Pandeji or you send me a little, and I'll circulate that among many of us as well as other who are not here, and they would be very much interested to be member fellows and see if we could develop some collaborative research. Anyone else? Anyone else have any questions for either Mark or Shachi ji? So I think we can turn on our video and maybe take a snapshot, and it'll be posted on the consortium website with the recording. So who's going to take the picture? Neeraj? Or Samrat?
Yeah, I'll just take a screenshot. I know how to take the screenshot. So let me just do one more. I just took one. So all right, ready everyone? I'll do it 1, 2, yeah, 3. Yep. So I did it, right? And I'll send it to Dr. Bahara. Send the email. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much,
everybody. And so Shachi ji, so if you know, let's just sit on some of the things we discussed, Mark and everyone else, and then I think we can communicate through email. You are all copied on that, or we can think of some concrete ideas, Shachi ji. If you think about 1, 2, 3, Pandey, like, okay, so let's just do these 3 things immediately. So please share that, and then we will go from there. Mark, do you have any final thought?
I just want to thank everyone for their time. Apologize for running late. I look forward to go back and watching the recording. And
right.
We're definitely on the same page in terms of what we're up to and where we'd like to go. So let's look for ways to work collaboratively.
Fantastic. Anything, Saqib? Any final?
I concur with whatever you shared. You know, let's start with this. You know, this conversation and dialogue, and we can that email correspondence from Shachi ji will really help. I'm sure a good number of our scholars would be interested. So yeah, let's do this, and you know, I concur with whatever you shared so far, all of you.
So
thank you.
Thank you very much, Shachi ji and Dr. Pandey and everyone else. And it's been very wonderful brainstorming. So hopefully we'll take it to the next step. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
look forward
Thank
for
you,
staying in
everyone.
touch and taking actions together. Namaste.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.